Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's time for that live stream show. Hopefully everybody's excited for another good show tonight. We've got a great one lined up for y'all. We're going to be talking fishing, answering questions, talking weather, and giving away free stuff. That's right, free stuff. So if you want a chance to win free stuff, this is the show to watch. We are live every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. for about an hour talking fishing. We always start the show by telling you what we're catching now, showing you some photos. Then we go into the weather a little bit, what's coming up, and what we're looking forward to. And then we launch into a Q&A, a question and answer session. You could text your question in to the phone number at the bottom of the screen if you want your question answered live during the show. Also, if you want a chance to win free stuff, all you have to do is comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. That's right, pop on over to Facebook, pop on over to the Hubbard's Marina page, make sure you like the page, follow the page, make sure you turn on notifications, and then comment on the live video. Really, all you have to do is comment on the live video, but we'd appreciate if you did all that other stuff too. And once you comment once, you're entered for a chance to win. You can watch on YouTube. If you don't like watching on Facebook, or if you're having issues with the Facebook app or Facebook stream, you can always pop on over to YouTube. A lot of people like watching there. It's a little bit more steady. Also, keep in mind you can watch on Trovo, on Twitch, on Instagram. We're streaming to multiple different platforms and multiple different Facebook pages as well. So you could be watching in a Facebook group or somewhere else, but make sure you comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Then watch the show live, because if you want a chance to win, not only do you have to comment once, but then you have to watch the show live. And if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, you've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. So again, during the show, if you want to win free stuff, you have to comment, you have to like, you have to share, and then you have to watch live, because if your name pops up and we announce you as one of the lucky winners over the airwaves here, you have 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. That's how it works. So make sure you're aware and you're watching live every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. They have some stellar deals going on right now. They have an ugly stick rod on sale for $19.99 this week only. They have other stellar deals over there. It's Black Friday every day at Gator Jim's Tackle. Make sure you stop by and say hello and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. That is 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Again, this show is brought to you and made possible by our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to our supporters. Our supporters group, we're pumped. We have our second supporters free fishing trip coming up. We're going out on a 12-hour hogfish extravaganza with our supporters group, and everybody in the supporters group had a absolutely free chance to book an absolutely free spot on that fishing trip. All they had to do was be a part of our supporters group. So we give away shirts, we give away fishing trips, we have our free supporters after show, and there's lots of other great benefits of being a supporter. So make sure you check out our supporters group. It's only $4.99 a month. It's a great time. Josh is going to drop the link into the chat. We have a special website page dedicated to our supporters group, and we're going to have a special fishing trip coming up, again, absolutely free to our supporters who have signed up, and it's going to be a blast. We're going to have lots of food, drinks, and a good time catching plenty of fish, and we're going to film the whole thing and put it on our YouTube channel as well, so stay tuned for that. Plus, we need more B-roll for the beginning of the show. So excited. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to those sending stars, making the show possible, helping to fuel the show as well. So big shout out to Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200 stars. Thank you, Jeff. Also, Rick Rogers, what's going on, my friend, with 200 stars. Lee Willis, what's up, buddy? Tim Harris with 2,000 stars. Appreciate you, Tim Harris. Keith White, Todd Stutzman, LaShonda Brown with a big 300. Sam Lang with 830, my friend. Thank you. Larry White with 1,000 stars. Appreciate you, buddy. Jasmine Marie, Richard Blazak, Adam Franklin with a big 1,000 stars. We're going to miss you, Adam, at the supporters page, or at the supporters fishing trip, but too bad we couldn't. At least we'll get to see you the week before. James McCullum, appreciate those 500 stars. Stephen Batchelor, Tony Tomaston, Tony Tomaston, Tim Dykes with the big 600 stars, Carrie Cardy, D. Beers, John Bull, Scott Flynn with 500, and then D. Beers with 1,400 stars. Thank you so much, D and Mike. Appreciate you guys. Craig Robinson, what's up, buddy? Thank you all for the stars. We really appreciate it. It definitely helps us do a lot with our live stream show. Now, we've talked about Gator Gyms, our supporters fishing trip coming up, and plugged that supporters after show. Hopefully we're going to see everybody for that after this live show. We talked about how to win free trips. Now it's time to get into the photos and show you guys what we've been catching, what we've been seeing out there on the water. We're going to start inshore and show you what we've been catching inshore. Then we're going to work our way near shore and then work our way a little bit deeper offshore. Now, inshore fishing has been going really well for us. We're excited because we've got that cold front coming up, and that cold front coming up is going to make the sheep's head fishing real hot. They really get excited, and we generally see quite a few sheep's head around these cold fronts, and we've got some pretty serious weather kind of happening right now outside. That cold front, that frontal boundary just pulled through, and that's going to make a lot of north wind for us, and that north wind is definitely going to stir things up and make things a little bit nautical for us, and because of that, we'll have a little bit more murky water. We'll see those sheep's head fire up even more here in the next few days. Plus, on top of that, inshore, we've been seeing a lot of snook moving around in those back bay and upper bay areas around the mangrove shorelines. Been pretty good snook fishing if you can get back up there to the mouths of those rivers, creeks, bayous, find those little deeper areas, those sun-drenched shorelines or muddy seawalls. And we've been seeing a lot of redfish action too. The redfish bite has been going pretty darn well for us. And we've been seeing quite a few of those speckled trout as well. So let's show you the photos and get into that here. First things first, we're going to start inshore, show you those inshore photos first. Our friend Dan the Fishman catching some nice pompano. The pompano bite has been popping off as well. Still a few pompano around. They can be super frustrating in the fact that those pompano will be at a pass one day. You'll be catching a lot of pompano, doing really well, seeing a lot of pompano. And then the very next day, that same place where you caught a bunch of pompano yesterday, they won't be there. They move quite a bit, so they can be a little bit frustrating in that respect, but they are a very good eating fish, and a lot of people enjoy catching and eating those pompano. So you got to work for them a little bit and stay on top of them, but they are fun to catch for sure. And Dan the Fishman, you can see here, caught quite a few of them and a nice sheep's head. A lot of redfish around, as I was saying, soft plastics, moving slow. That water's a little bit cold right now. We're into the mid to upper 60s on the inshore side of things, and this cold front will probably bring us into the mid 60s pretty solidly with the colder temperatures on the docket this week. But we're going to get into the weather here in a minute, show you guys a little bit more about the weather. But as you can see, the redfish bite has been strong and remains strong around the area. Soft plastics dominate, and whitebait still around surprisingly, but they're going to start moving more to that crustacean bite here very soon. But soft plastics still working well. Those split tails, I call them dart baits, but I'm sure there's a special flukes, the fluke tail. Sheep's head definitely working well around the area, as I mentioned. A lot of snook in the back and upper bay areas. And you can see the darkness on the top of that snook showing how close it is to those freshwater areas. A lot of big trout around, getting shallower right now, but we're seeing a lot of aggression, a lot of concentrations on those trout as well. So some good trout action for sure, and it's a special time of year for those trout. As they move a little shallower, they also get a little bit more aggressive in that cooler water. We're going to work our way near shore and offshore and show you guys what we're catching near shore and offshore as well. Let me just start by saying It's all about them hogfish. The hogfish bite has been absolutely stellar. We're seeing a lot of hogfish right now, catching quite a few of them on our 5-hour half days, 10-hour all days, just absolutely stroking them. And fishing has been stellar yesterday, today. Weather a little bumpy, a little breezy, but fishing really, really, really good for us. The private charters have been killing the hogfish. Flying Hub 2 had double 5-hour half days yesterday and absolutely destroyed the hogfish out there. So really cool to see all the hogfish coming up. We're getting some of those strawberry groupers. We're getting Almaco jacks, offshore deeper. We're getting some nice scamp, some kingfish, some big mangroves, lots of mangrove snapper lately as well, and some nice big yellowtails mixed in. Of course, the mutton snapper are always a welcome sight. We got those red grouper opening up in about 3 weeks. We got big scamp grouper in the interim, some Creole snapper, fat yellowtails. Definitely a good time to get out there and go catching. We've got a super light 39-hour trip coming up here, not this coming Tuesday, but next. And super excited to get out there and take advantage of that light load. Definitely lots of room on the boat, and we've been catching quite a few fish lately with plenty of those mangroves. Then the yellowtails mixed in, and like I said, those big muttons have been relentless. So pretty cool there. Now, we showed you guys what we've been catching. Let's talk a little bit about the weather and show you guys what's going on with the weather. We're going to pop on over to hubbardsmarina.com. Click out of our 2024 calendar reminder and hit fishing trips, and then we're going to scroll down to weather links. And that first weather link we're going to look at is the 5 and 10 hour wind finder forecast area. And you can see here, looking forward to Tuesday, December 19th. This is our super light 39-hour trip. Already the weather is shaping up to be real nice for that trip behind this blow. And you can scroll back to the top and see this blow starts tonight and really does not quit. And pretty solid week. It is rare that we see 7 days of over 20-mile-an-hour winds. And that's pretty much what we're looking down the barrel of the next 7 days. So nothing really good to talk about here, unfortunately, but gonna be breezy tomorrow. Breezy and cold. And then Tuesday, gonna be breezy and cold. Wednesday, gonna be breezier and cold. Thursday, you've guessed it, breezy and cold. Friday, breezier, cold, and wet. Saturday, finally, breeze breaks for a little bit before it switches back out of the north and starts blowing again. So we have just absolutely been inundated with cold front after cold front after cold front here over the next 7 days. So not real great week of weather, but I want to show you something interesting. So we're going to pop back to the weather links page. We're going to go to Ultimate Storm Forecast over here, spaghettimodels.com. And then up in the upper left side, we're going to click the GFS model. Takes us to Tropical Tidbits. We're going to click Global. And actually, let's look at the GFS first. But switch on over to this. We're going to switch over to regions. Let's go Southeast because that's what we care about. Southeast. And let's see here. So this is Monday. This was the big front that came through just now. Big front blew by us. Now this is Tuesday. Going to be wet and cold and windy. This is Thursday. Now Friday, we saw that wind coming. That looks awfully tropical, don't it? Bay of Campeche down here. Basically, this cold front comes down and stalls. That's what this green line is. And the tail end of that cold front sits down here in what they call the Bay of Campeche, which is between the Yucatan and Mexico. And it stays in that bay for a minute, and it starts to move northeast like a tropical system. It doesn't quite get formulated and become a tropical system, but I mean, that is tropical-ish. It has the looks of a tropical system. It will have the feel of a tropical system. It will have the wind and the rain. So that's why we have such high rain chances Friday and Saturday. interestingly enough. It's a cold front that comes down and stalls and then kind of becomes tropical. So it's going to bring a lot of rain. You can see how much rain and moisture moves up the coast and around Florida. We need the rain here locally, but just kind of stinks that we're getting it in between two big cold fronts. So something interesting, just wanted to show you. So that was the GFS model. If you switch over to the Euro model, that same time frame, the Euro model is not showing as much development, and it stays a lot further south. So this is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so it does not look as tropical, and we do not get as much rain until you get into Monday with a, wow, the Euro's showing 990, got to 996, so the Euro's showing something totally different. This is new. Why does the weather hate us so much right now? That's crazy. Does that say 993, Josh? Yeah. 993. That is almost on a tropical scale. What is a 993 in the old millibars? A 993 would be considered a category 1 in millibars, but they don't really rate tropical systems like that anymore. Is that blowing up? There it is. No, wrong link. Right click, open in new window. Look, I learned something, Josh. So yeah, 993 would be right there in that category 1 range. But they don't rate storms like that now. They rate. See how it says old SS scale? That stands for old Saffir-Simpson scale. They rate storms now based on their wind speed. So probably wouldn't be a category 1 for that reason, because the wind speed wouldn't be high. But the millibars will be low enough, which is pretty intense. Shows a pretty lengthy and severe intensification in the Gulf. So will be interesting to see how the end of the week shakes out. But long story short, we could sum this week up with it's going to be windy and cold. So do some sheep's head fishing on the dock there when it's too rough to get offshore with us. Richard Harcourt, appreciate those 350 stars. And Angel Parent Perez with a big 1,500 stars. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. So cold and windy all week. Cold, windy, and rainy Friday and Saturday. So let's find out who won our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away our 5-hour half day first. 5-hour half day for 2 people. Lucky winner is Gary Kelly from Central Ohio. You've got 5 minutes or less, Gary, to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. So if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, full home address to the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Within 5 minutes, you got to text us to prove you're watching live. Now, also keep in mind, want to take a second to remind everybody, sometimes after the show ends, because we have 300, 400, 500 people watching live, we have like 1,200 comments, a lot of times our streams will get targeted by spammers. So they'll come in there, they'll make a fake page with a fake name, and they'll start commenting on your comments, or they'll start messaging you, hey, click here, click this. We do not give anything away like that. So please, if the show ends and you get a comment like that, just make a comment back and we'll see the notification, but don't click anything. The only way we give stuff away is over the live show like this. You will see it come up on the screen. You will see me announce, you will hear me announce it. We do not post anything for you to click. That is always going to be spam. Be suspicious. If someone says, click here, give me your credit card, be suspicious because it is fake. So just want to make sure we put that out there as we move forward. Now, we do have our caller on the line. The caller, Mr. Captain Mike Anderson. How you doing, Mike? What's up, buddy? Uh-oh. I grabbed the wrong headphones, maybe?
Yep.
Oh, there he is. What's going on, Mike?
So, all day I've been sitting around thinking, Dylan Hubbard, the guy's a celebrity, he's a star, Fox. You don't have any pull, bro? You can't do anything about this weather?
Oh, okay. That's where it was going. Yeah, unfortunately not. I wish I did. If you read our reviews, you would think that I have control of the weather because we get blamed for it a lot.
I'm blaming you right now.
Yeah.
Dylan, who's on with the weather? Big dog?
Yeah, I know. It's like the fisheries thing. Sometimes the bearer of bad news, the messenger gets killed. And, yeah, I bear a lot of bad news, unfortunately. And
I hear you.
The weather this week is bad news bears for sure. So it's that week where we get prepared for those little weather windows. December in Florida, in my opinion, is like so cool. December, January, February, because the rest of the country is snowing. We're complaining about a little bit of wind and maybe a little bit of rain. And then, like yesterday, what was it? It was, yesterday. It was Saturday. We got home from the radio show, breakfast with the family. We went out and we were ready for the beach. And then we went to the park and walked around Mary Beach Market. I mean, we're going to the beach. It's sunny and 75 in between these cold fronts. So you got to take the good with the bad, right?
Really, it just seems to be working out that, and I try to tell young charter captains this when they explain to them what a bad idea it is to choose to be a charter captain for a living, is these are those weeks where you have, like, I booked up solid this week. I mean, everything's looking up, and then Mother Nature says,
not today.
Slowly roll. Yeah, not today. So this is where it becomes challenging. You got to learn your money and be smart, because the winter can be tough, and we've had some really cushy winters. The last couple have been pretty decent. We've been able to fish almost any time we want for the most part. Mm-hmm. And this seems to be one of those years where, we're getting curveball after curveball after curveball here. So, a little frustrating, but I've been doing it a long time, so but I don't like it.
Yeah, so, we don't have to love it when it's happening, but I definitely enjoy those little weather windows and those opportunities in December where that water temperature is 65, 68. Sometimes it even creeps up into the 70s, and it'll be sunny, blue skies behind a front, nice and dry, and just absolutely picture perfect, beautiful. So it is nice in between those fronts, and that's what it's about this time of year, is trying to remain positive and funnel your trips. I always tell people, they're like, well, I'm coming into town Monday through Friday, and I've got a trip booked with you for Thursday. And I'm like, that's not a great idea. If you're coming into town this time of year, whether it's October, November, December, all the way into like April, really plan your trip at the beginning is what I always tell people. Like, if you're coming Monday through Friday, think about fishing Monday or Tuesday, so that way if weather is bad, we do have a cold front around, you can cancel and reschedule for the second part of your vacation. Because if you're around town for 3, 5, 6, 7 days, you're almost guaranteed one of those little weather windows in between these fronts, but you have to be able to take advantage of it. So plan your fishing early in the trip so you have the opportunity to reschedule. If you plan it at the end, you get bad weathered, you're going to be screwed.
Yeah, that's great advice. You guys have been putting people on fish for, generations now, and that's a great tip. Plan your fishing trip early in the week. That way, good Lord willing, if you have bad weather the first part of the week, by the end of the week, you got a beautiful day there when you can be on the water. So, and even then, bad weather to be, walking around John Pass Village or, doing things, going to Disney and having wind isn't so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Going to Busch Gardens and having wind isn't so bad.
Yeah.
But, and if you're trying to have your day on the water, it can booger you up. So
yeah, and it's like what you were talking about this morning on the radio is for us, bad weather is subjective, right? If it's blowing 20 out of the north and it's 62 degrees for a high, for us Floridians, that's bad weather, and it's too rough often to get offshore. But it is a gorgeous day to walk around John's Pass, especially for folks from Wisconsin, Indiana, places where it's snowing right now. They would kill for some 20-mile-an-hour winds, sunny, 62-degree weather. It's pretty.
Well, and even the wind.
Yeah.
Joe Below, who isn't, for whatever reason, I can't figure it out, but isn't a big fish.
Yeah.
for them, it was a little breezy in downtown Tampa. Went out at lunchtime, and it was beautiful because it was 62 or 65 or 70 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy hot all year. So, it was a little breezy, but it was a beautiful day. I don't know what these people are talking about, but the weather stinks. Well, when you either A, you make your living on the water, or B, it's your one day off and you love to fish, 20-mile-an-hour winds, they stink for sure. So, and I'm going to keep preaching this because I've been saying it the whole time. We need the winter.
Yeah.
We need the rain. We need these things to help us turn over our estuary and get it right for the spring. And as much as I don't like it to be happening to me because I'm getting way behind in my shoots for season 18, and I've got customers I wanted to get on the water this week, looking forward to do some fishing. It is what it is. It's wintertime, and this is the pattern that guys who've been doing this for any length of time should be used to this time of year, because even though it hasn't been this way the last couple of years, this is kind of a normal winter pattern for us.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like you mentioned and alluded to, when we have these colder winters, these harsher winters that last longer, generally it translates into a really good springtime and even into the summer bite. We see a lot 100%. Of things that have to kind of get shaken up. These cyclical changing of the seasons have to happen. It's healthy for the ecosystem and the environment and estuary, like you mentioned. So
I couldn't agree more. It's exactly what people should be thinking. Yes, it stinks because it's wintertime. It's not hot. You want to get on the water. You want to fish. I understand it. But come late March into April, when we're going to get a spring. Normally, you really don't get a spring because it's 85 degrees, at the end of February.
Yeah.
So you just don't get that big boom, that big explosion of those fish pouring out of the backcountry and getting out of that winter mode and falling into that spring heavy feed before they go to spawn. And that's what you get when you have a winter like this. Yep. And you're right. That's what I'm dreaming about. I'm dreaming about late March, April, May being absolutely ridiculous, because it seems like we're finally heading to have that old school winter that turns this estuary over and gets things right for the spring.
Amen to that. Now, I have a question for you while I got you on free time here. Redfish. So September, October is kind of peak redfish time in Tampa Bay. It's just
we get big schools. Yeah.
Big schools. Everybody can catch them. They become really easy to target. And they're feisty. They're feeding aggressively. Now, as we get into November, it seemed like those schools were still around pretty good. They were still very actively feeding. But now we're into like winter, I would say, with these longer durations of hardened down north winds, these cold fronts. So now what do those redfish do? They start to move more towards dock lines, right? Snook have a very designated set pattern. What are the redfish up to?
Well, and redfish, what you have to remember about redfish is when you think about a redfish, you have to remember we have redfish all the way up into the Carolinas, all the way over to Louisiana. So redfish are very cold water tolerant. They're like speckled trout.
Yeah.
The bad news is a lot of your schools, especially your schools of fish that are 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, those fish go offshore. They go deep for the spawn. Okay. Now, what happens in the wintertime, the redfish that we end up mostly targeting, and I should preface that with saying most of our fish go offshore.
Yeah.
There's still fish inshore that you can still come across a 27-inch redfish inshore, but a lot of the big schools they tend to go offshore and spawn. That's the pattern they get into. And then what happens is once those fish get really big, they start to get to 35 to 40 inches. A lot of times they go offshore and stay offshore. And they don't come back in. Maybe we get some of those schools, but a lot of those fish will stay offshore. They won't come at all. So what you look for this time of year, and the dock lines is spot on. The dock lines, and I got reports today of a couple of my favorite dock lines from some of my guys. They fished them and said it was every shrimp on a jig that you could put in this dock line. They caught a redfish, one right after another.
Nice.
And it's really good to see. When I fished, I got the pleasure of fishing down out of South Seas Island Resort on Friday with Capt. Lessinger. We caught redfish, but almost all the redfish were 17, 18 inches to 22 inches. So what we call rat red.
Nice.
And even Ozzy said, hey, that bite's been really, really good. So, and what I found throughout the years of doing this, the years that we have phenomenal, what we call again, rat red fishing. Yeah. I call it, hey, the rat red's bite is on fire. So I bring the lightest rods I can. I use jig heads. I tail hook shrimp. We fish them up under the docks. You're either going to catch sheephead or you're going to catch redfish. When that redfish bite is fire, like it is this year, seems to be really solid all up and down the west coast of Florida. Yeah. That normally preludes into a killer spring and a killer fall redfish bite.
Nice.
And I mean, I guess, you know, it probably has to do with year classes. And you've been hanging out with me long enough to know I don't know all the good scientific terminology to make all this make sense. I'm sure our friend Dr. Barbieri can, you know, spew it in perfect to make it make sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it works that way, but it just does. When we have these winters, and we've had them completely the opposite. When I hit my favorite redfish dock lines in, you know, December, January, February, and you catch one redfish here and one redfish there, normally the redfish bite is off. It's just not good. It's just the way it is. Those years when we have phenomenal red fishing in the wintertime, usually our spring bite, our fall bite is really solid. So last year we had a fairly decent winter bite on the rat reds, and then we had a pretty good redfish year. Hoping for the same this year, because I'm already seeing, again, we went and did it in Charlotte Harbor. I've done it on a couple trips up here, fishing random dock lines that normally hold those fish and catching lots of rat reds. Nice. So that should be a good indicator that the redfish fishery is strong going into 2024.
And so right now, if you're looking for those redfish, you can fish those dock lines, whether it's in a pass, whether it's up the tip of a residential canal. You're not really fishing the back of a canal. You want to get that water flowing, right?
Well, I mean, yes. I would say for me, it's more intercoastal because, again, you have that good moving water normally on the intercoastal.
Yep.
Not too far from the passes. Those are usually the docks that kind of dominate, you know, that bite. Here's the other thing to look for. If you can find docks that are close to good quality grass flats.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Anything that, you know, anything where within a couple 100 yards, you've got grass flats. So they're moving back and forth. When that water warms up and you get a couple of days that it heats up, and the next thing you know, that water's 70, those fish immediately go up in that grass and they start to root around for those little crabs, the little shrimp, all those crustaceans. Whenever you're catching redfish this time of year, you will notice that tail is lit up blue. It's lit up blue. That means they're on a heavy crustacean feed. That's the iodine in the shellfish that's making that tail blue, and that's what they're primarily eating. They're eating shellfish. So anywhere that you have that good, healthy grass that's going to harbor all those shrimp, it's going to harbor all those crabs, that dock line on those colder weathers where you got just a little bit deeper water where they need to drop off and get into a little warmer water, that's where they're going to be staged up. So if you can find any dock line that's close to a healthy grass flat, you will 9 times out of 10, you'll score redfish on that dock line. Here's something interesting too, kind of cool that I found over the years. I've had trips where I just told the guy, I'm like, listen, we're absolutely crushing the redfish. We're going to catch 50 redfish today. And they're going to all be small, but we're on light tackle. It'll be fun. And I've gone in there where I was just there like a day or two before and crushed them. And not catch a single redfish, but crush the sheephead. For some reason, especially when the females show up. When the females show up on the dock line, I don't know what it is, that they swim around and poke the redfish in the eyeball and run them off. I don't know what they do. They bully them. I'm not sure what the gig is. But some big sheephead will absolutely completely take over a shoreline of docks, a whole dock line. They'll just push them right out. I've had other times, especially when it's the male sheephead that are here, which is early in the winter, like the cycle we're in right now, where you see a lot of the smaller fish, 10, 12, 13, 14 inches, you'll have them both together. But when those big female sheepheads show up and you're catching big female after big female after big female, your redfish bite will deteriorate to almost nothing on that dock line. Where they go, I don't know what they do, but it's just, I've had it happen to me probably a dozen times in the last 10 years where we're just absolutely crushing them. And I don't know, I should pay more attention to it. If it's around the moon, I don't know what does it, but it's unbelievable. Like
they
it's
just get aggressive.
Like somebody flipped a switch and the big sheephead moved in and said, "Hey, you redfish, out, be gone. This is ours." Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but it's just, and again, you're not bummed because you're catching big female redfish on light tackle on the docks, which if you've ever done it, it's every bit as fun as catching redfish on the docks. I mean, they fight up a storm and dig, and they're awesome. They're tasty, obviously. So, but it's interesting the way that happens. It's kind of unique.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, lots of good information. We gave away some tips on how to find those redfish docks, and definitely excited for the spring to come. Now we just have to bear through a week of some nasty weather.
Yeah, no doubt. Good week to do some podcasts, I guess. I guess I'll go podcasting.
There you go.
Do what I can do.
Go
all
catch,
good. I
catch some
appreciate
more viewers.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, brother, as always.
Appreciate you, my friend. And the Real Animals podcast on any of your podcast channels, definitely good stuff there. So you can catch the Real Animals Fishing Show, obviously on Waypoint's probably the easiest for people to find it, right?
It really is. Waypoint TV, Carbon TV, the digital platforms are easy. You can check them out anytime. Just, log in there and you can view them for free. So that's probably the easiest place to do it. World Fishing Network, Twins Channel, Bally Sun Sports, and then WMOR will air second quarter, third quarter in 2024.
Nice. All right, my friend, you have a good night, and we'll see you Bartow Ford, 6 to 8 p.m., January 23rd. You have Danny Allen, right?
Yes, sir. Captain Danny Allen, Beyond the Surface TV, also on Waypoint. He's going to be a great guest. He's a super great fisherman, a good friend of mine. We'll have some fun together. If nothing else, you'll enjoy just him and I poking at one another for sure. So it'll be a good one.
Well, we appreciate it, my friend. Thanks for joining.
I appreciate you, brother, as always. You and your listeners have a great night. Thanks, pal.
You too, man. See you, buddy.
Bye, pal.
Bye. Always a fun time talking to Captain Mike and getting some insights on our inshore fishery. Want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends Don Shewitt with a big 600 stars. George Arterburn with 200. Appreciate you, man. Steve and Brandy, what's going on, guys? Thanks for those 300 stars. Craig Robinson, appreciate you as well. Now, we've talked a little bit about what's going on weather-wise, what's coming up weather-wise. We talked to you about what we're catching now, what we're coming up with, and we've got lots of light load opportunities here once this weather relents. Before Christmas, remember that week before Christmas, the week after Christmas, before New Year's Day, real busy. So the week before and after Christmas, real busy. Before the week before Christmas, and then after New Year's Day, super slow, lots of light loads, lots of great opportunities to get out there on the water as long as the weather is good. So tune in to our daily live shows. We have little live Instagram stories, Facebook stories, TikTok stories. We do our Snapchat stories. We also do live videos most mornings as well. So tune into that stuff to find out and stay tuned. Keep a thumb on the pulse of the weather. We'll let you know what days are best to get out there and go fishing. So stay tuned for that. Now, we gave away a 5-hour half day. Let's go ahead and give away our Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and then we're going to get into some of your questions. Remember, if you have a question you want answered live during the show, you got to text it in to the phone number at the bottom of the screen there. So let's find out who won our Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Lucky winner is Sean Edward from Bay Pines. Congratulations, Sean. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address and t-shirt size for that Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Congratulations, bud. Now, we're going to get into your questions and talk to you guys a little bit about what y'all want to hear. So if you have a question you want answered live during the show, text it into the phone number on the screen. If you're picked as one of the lucky winners, like Sean, you got 5 minutes or less to claim it by texting us your full home address. So, why aren't there more hatcheries in Tampa and Florida? Great question. So, there are a lot of fish hatchery, fish planting, fish farming efforts, and people often wonder why they don't do it more. The reasoning behind that is there's not a lot of good science and research behind what happens. So if you take a fish, capture a fish, bring it into captivity, they will then have those fish breed in captivity, or they'll capture a fish that's already been fertilized and take those fertilized eggs and hatch them in captivity. Long story short, they get what's called a brood stock, which is generally one generation or two generations removed from the natural fish. So you have the natural fish swimming around in the intercoastal or along the Gulf of Mexico, and one generation or two generations removed are these brood stock that they have in captivity. And then they take those fish, they raise them up, and then they release them at some certain size. The big question is, how do those fish that have been born, bred, and raised in a tank, how do they react once you dump them into the intercoastal? Do they all get eaten? Because they don't have the same childhood that other small fish had. They haven't learned the hard lessons of what's a predator and where you can't go and what is a bird and all these other things. I mean, think of all the predators that are going after those small fish, right? You've got herons, pelicans, you've got a bunch of seabirds, you've got bigger fish. So I was actually most recently at one of those releases where they were releasing a lot of these smaller redfish between 8 to 12 inches. And so we were releasing hundreds of these redfish, thousands of these redfish. And at the end, it was just crazy. All the predators, snook popping, tarpon rolling, birds coming. I mean, it was a feeding frenzy on all these fish we were releasing. So how many of those fish actually make it to adulthood and breed? Does it help? Is a big question. So people often ask, why aren't there more hatcheries? Well, there's a lot of questions on diseases being proliferated into the environment from these hatcheries, which can happen and can be really bad for the environment. Also, water contamination, water quality concerns. Also, does it help? And then there's other questions about kind of the financial impact and financial return as well. So what's really cool, to sum up and round out this question, what's really cool is the work that Salt Strong is doing with Moat Marine Lab. Most recently, Salt Strong, our friends over there, Joe and Luke and their team, actually funded, I think it was to celebrate 50,000 members or something like that, and then they doubled their membership. I don't really recall off the top of my head, but it was amazing. They did this huge thing to celebrate some milestone that they hit, and then they ended up almost doubling or tripling, well exceeding the milestone they were celebrating. Why they were trying to celebrate this milestone. But long story short, they funded research on hatcheries and releases and what happens to those redfish later. So we actually released a bunch of redfish that were tagged. They had radio receivers inside these fish, and they're actually going to record the movements, because when you release a fish into a river, does it swim the wrong way up the river and die? Does it know to swim to the saltwater? Does it recruit to the right estuary? Does it live? So there was a lot of receivers put out there in the water, and they're actually going to be able to tell if this redfish grows to a healthy length and actually makes it offshore to spawn. So it's a really, really cool project that Salt Strong and Moat Marine have kind of embarked upon. But it's going to be a few, probably a year or more before they really start getting some research numbers back on that. But to answer the question, why aren't there more hatcheries, is because there's not a lot of good science to say, for every dollar you spend, you can help this many redfish. Once that happens, you'll see a lot more of it, most likely. Because Duke Energy, Mosaic, some really big companies, really big corporations, especially those with kind of a tarnished reputation in the water quality industry, put up a lot of money every year to work with CCA to do a lot of these high-profile redfish releases. But the big question is it helping? Does it help? How much does it help? So Salt Strong and Moat Marine are actually going to work to quantify that, which is really, really cool. Let's see. Next question. When does the 2024 39-hour schedule come out for next year? It is already out. December 1st at 11 a.m. it was released. So it has been out for 9 days now. You can actually book your 2024 specialty trips. If you go onto our website, at the very top of our website, there's actually a banner that says 2024 schedule released. Click here to book your specialty trips. And you can actually click that banner and you can see all the 39-hour trips and 12-hour extreme trips for next year right there on the home page. Don't miss the big banner. So the schedule is out. Has there been red tide issues in the area this year? No, none whatsoever so far, and hopefully not in the near future or at all, hopefully. So no red tide issues, no water quality, severe, harmful algal bloom outbreaks. There's been some issues with some dumping, some sewage leaks. We had an oil spill in Port of Tampa and Port Manatee. We had a couple big sewage leaks, but it's pretty common, unfortunately, in the greater Tampa Bay area. Let's see here. I have a new dock light, and it's an underwater light. How do you fish it? So that is a problem. You don't. You can't fish your own dock light in most cases. You need a neighbor to have a dock light, or in order to fish your dock light, you need to have a friendly neighbor who lets you get on his dock or her dock and actually fish your dock from your neighbor's yard. That's a tip or a trick I learned at a young age, jumping fences and fishing other docks. Don't do that. I don't recommend it. Unless you're a kid, you can get away with it, which is cool. But after a certain age, people don't think it's funny you jump their fence anymore. So it's tough to fish your own dock light because once you walk out into the dock, the vibration goes into the water and all the fish are not going to feed if you don't totally scare them off. You can sometimes get away with it if you're able to fish from your seawall, but your shadow, the shadow from what light is behind you cast onto the water is enough to spook the fish. So really, the only way to fish a dock light is from another dock or a boat. So you can launch a kayak stealthily from a neighbor's house and fish your own dock light or a boat. It's hard to even put a boat in the water, right? Because it's going to be on your dock, so it's tough. You really can't fish your own dock light effectively, to answer the question. Do you know how to tape? Hi, Bobby. Bobby Woodard, always trying to trick me. I almost read his question about drywall. He is a guide in our Florida Guides Association, and he lives down in Northport, and he is still recovering from Hurricane Ian. September of last year, his house was totally wiped out. And today he got drywall up, so proud. He's like rebuilding the house himself. It's pretty impressive. Definitely couldn't do it myself. Something pretty cool. What month do the big female sheep's head move in? We've seen a lot of big sheep's head already. Not a ton of big ones, but they're starting to move in really kind of January, February especially. But later December starts it, and then January, February is a good time. Are there any plans on using the hub for a 10-hour trip anytime soon? I want a couple 10-hour trips on the hub while the big boat is in dry dock. I really enjoyed those last year. Those are already scheduled and happening for the entire month of January and first 2 weeks of February. The Florida Fisherman is leaving January 1st from service, and it will be out of the water for 6 weeks. Its first trip back will be February 16th. So from January 1st through February 16th, all our 10-hour all-day trips will be on the hub. So it'll be a smaller, faster boat, no enclosed cabin area, no galley, no air conditioning, but less lines in the water. and a kind of private charter experience for 14 people. So it's kind of like a 10-hour extreme. The 12-hour extreme is on the Flying Hub 2. You go really far, really fast. You don't have that air-conditioned cabin. You don't have the galley. There is a bathroom on the boat. We do have the same rod rental options. We do provide all your dead bait, but you're kind of out there in the elements, and you're a little bit more you got more one-on-one time with the captain and crew, but it's not a big party boat, right? It's not big, roomy party boat. You hear 14 people and like, oh, less people, and people get on there and they're like, wait, there's other people on the boat. Yeah, there's other people on the boat. So it's not necessarily a private charter, but it's a private charter style experience. It's really cool. It's worth checking out. And so our 10-hour all days are the same price on the hub, but we only take up to 14. So they book really early. So if you want to get on the hub for one of those special 10-hour all day trips, anytime in the month of January, first 16 days of February. I'm going on a 10-hour trip, and I'm bringing my Penn spinning reel. What line requirements would you recommend? Well, first of all, I'd recommend getting rid of your Penn spinning reel and getting a Daiwa. No, I'm just kidding. I just like Daiwa reels personally, but Penn makes an okay reel. Their customer service is not great, though, at least in my experience. So what line requirements do you recommend for a 10-hour trip specifically? I would be using around 20 or 30-pound braid, and then about a 15 to 20-foot piece of 30-pound monofilament or really fluorocarbon would be your best bet. And then a 1 to 2 ounce egg sinker, probably a 2 ounce egg sinker, and then a 3 or 4/0 hook, rigged knocker rig style. You could even throw 3 or 4 red beads between the hook and the weight as well, if you wanted to get fancy. Brandy said, Steve, I need a Hubbard's Marina 39-hour trip for Christmas. That's a good one. Good shout out. Very subliminal, subtle message there, Brandy, to your other half, Steve. Your lesser half, Steve, I should say. Let's see here. What's your favorite fish to catch? My favorite fish to catch, I really like fishing for the mangrove snapper in deep water. Fishing like 160 to 200 foot for mangrove snapper is my favorite. Big mangrove snapper, they're aggressive, they're smart, they're leader shy. Someone who can catch mangrove snapper consistently and catch them often is really dialed in. And that's my favorite style of fishing. A little lighter tackle, a lot more technical, and really quick and aggressive. I don't have a lot of patience, so I don't like soaking a big bait, and I'm not one of those trophy-style fishermen. Like Mike Mahoney, we did that fishing show with him, and he gave me a bunch of hard time because he caught the biggest fish on the boat. He caught one fish all day. He soaked big baits and caught a nice big gag. My dad does the same thing. My dad will go fishing with me, and he'll catch the biggest fish, but he's soaking the biggest bait on the biggest tackle, and he's got a lot of patience, whereas I'm cutting up little pieces of dead thread fin, cutting the head, cutting the tail, trimming the belly, using a double snell rig, and I'm catching a lot of fish, getting a lot of bites, catching a lot of mangroves, and then getting a lot of bycatch and just getting a lot of action, bending the rod, and having a good time. And that's my style of fishing. I like a little lighter tackle, and I like catching a lot of fish. Now, if you're using lighter tackle, smaller hooks, lighter leader, little lighter rod, if you get a really big fish hooked, you could get lucky and land it, but sometimes you do get broke off. So that's kind of the downside of, yeah, unfortunately, you're going to occasionally break off a fish or two if you're using that lighter tackle. Whereas if you're using that heavier tackle, if you get that big fish to bite, you're going to have a much better chance of landing it. And Jeff Reedy, he did not catch the big wahoo. Technically, the rod holder caught that big wahoo. We all worked to reel in that wahoo, so don't let anybody tell you any different. That was a flat-lined wahoo. Let's see here. So if we are on a 5-hour trip, how many shrimp should we buy? And if we run out of shrimp, can we buy more on the boat? Are there any other options for bait? So remember, on our 5-hour half day, 10-hour all day, 39-hour trips, we provide all the dead bait you need. Live bait is an extra option. However, on our 5-hour half days, 10-hour all days, we are catching a lot of hogfish, and we're targeting those hogfish. So they like shrimp. So the problem is shrimp come off the hook real easy, and it's difficult to keep them in stock, right? So for a 5-hour half day, if you're going to fish for hogfish and use shrimp the whole time, I would say at least 5 dozen per person is a good amount. 10-hour, really 10 dozen is a good amount. 15 dozen even if you're going to fish a lot for those hogfish. Go heavy. It's always good to have more shrimp because once you're offshore, there's no live bait shops, right? So if you run out of shrimp offshore, you're out of shrimp. We always have more dead bait on the boat for you, but shrimp you have to bring with you. So you want to be prepared with the shrimp, especially if you're going to target the hogfish and use shrimp the whole trip. But shrimp comes off the hook real easy too. So if you're getting a little frustrated, you're not catching as many fish, you can always switch back to shrimp or squid or thread fins or some other baits as well. Sprinkling in some other baits. Let's go ahead and give away our next live giveaway. Let's do our 10-hour all day for 2 guests. 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Lucky winner is Javier Santiago from Winter Haven. Congratulations, Javier, on that lucky win. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip by texting us your full home address to the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Congrats on the win. All right, so we've got time for a few more questions here before we round out the show. While Josh is bringing up our next question, I do want to kind of let you know we have an exciting live show coming up in January. Actually, the week of my birthday week is going to get kicked off right. January 21st, Sunday, January 21st, we are going to have the head of the Southeast Regional Office, the regional administrator for NOAA Fisheries, hopefully in studio. If he's not in studio, he'll be here via Zoom or some other virtual meeting platform. But I think he's going to actually be here in studio. So that'll be fun. His name is Andy Strelchek, and that's going to be a pretty cool show. So you will actually be able to talk to the person in charge of NOAA Fisheries for all of the South Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf of Mexico. He's in charge of the entire Southeast branch of the Southeast Regional Office of NOAA Fisheries. So the tippy top of NOAA Fisheries will be here in studio. So I'm excited about that. Again, Sunday, January 21st. All right, let's see what our next question is before we wrap up here. How do I sign up for the supporters group? Josh will drop the link in the chat. You can sign up for the supporters group. The supporters fishing trip is unfortunately something that's already kind of been signed up for, and it's for those who have been in the club for a while. So if you want to go on one of our supporters group events or get some of the free shirts and free stuff we give away in there, become a supporter and stay a part of the group, and you'll have the opportunity to catch those random giveaways. Pun intended. All right. So as we pull up our last question of the night, hopefully everybody's excited for Final Friday, December 29th from 6 to 9 p.m. It's going to be bad to the bone. We're going to have the cookie contest, $300 for first prize. Don't miss out. And then also we have free crawfish, free beer, free drinks, and lots of other good opportunities to hang out and join us. So don't miss out. Let's see here. Is Tuesday's 10-hour trip still going? So as of right now, it is still going, but I wouldn't recommend it. If we are able to go, it's probably going to be pretty slow fishing and pretty bumpy. But if we're able to go and it's safe and we have a lot of people interested, which I don't think we have very many, if any, people interested, and I think it's borderline unsafe, so we'll probably have to be canceling it. But as of right now, it's scheduled to go, to answer your question. 10-hour trips, do you anchor or just drift? Generally, this time of year, we are anchor fishing for those hogfish. We do drift occasionally. It kind of depends on the time of year, our target species, and what's going on during the day. So it can vary quite a bit. But for the most part right now, specifically, we're anchor fishing a lot for those hogfish. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show tonight, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Remember, every Sunday night. Now, we do have a Sunday night coming up here that we will not have the show. And next Sunday, the 17th, we'll be having the show. We'll see you here. The following Sunday is Christmas Eve. And Christmas Eve, Sunday night, we're gonna take that one off. So I can live through Christmas. So no Christmas Eve live show, but every other Sunday night we're live right here, 7:30 p.m. Hopefully you guys enjoy the show. Remember to tell your friends, and remember to tag your friends. Remember to tell a family member to join us every Sunday night. I really need your help to help share the show. So tell a friend this week to tune in on the 17th and join us. Also, as well, don't forget about Final Fridays. Every last Friday of the month, it's a good time. We hope to see you all out there from 6 to 9 p.m. And hopefully we'll see you in the supporters group. Remember, we've got lots of cool stuff going on in that supporters group. Those folks got a free 12-hour fishing trip for being supporters. So check it out. Also, our regulars club, if you want 50% off fishing trips for the year, think about becoming a Regulars Club member. That Regulars Club information, if you go onto our website, I'm going to pop over here to our website real quick and show you. If you pop to, oh, did I hit the wrong button? I hit it the right button now. If you pop over to hubbardsmarina.com, click Fishing Trips, scroll down to Fishing Trip Information, and then hit Regulars Club Info. This Regulars Club info page has all the policies, has a little video to explain what the Regulars Club is, has the prices of the club, shows you the discount, and then it shows you the prices of the trip without the discount, the normal prices, and then it shows you the discount, the price of the trip with the discount. So the top level club, a 39 hour is less than $350, whereas the 39 hours normally $499. So pretty big discounted, $150 off if you're a top level Regulars Club member. And it just is a requirement to fish often. It's a loyalty program, not a discount program. So check out that page on our website, and you don't want to miss out on your opportunity to be a 2024 Regulars Club member. So hopefully we'll see you in our supporters group. Hopefully we'll see you in our Regulars Club. And hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode of the live stream show. Speaking of our supporters club, our supporters after show will start live at 8:45 p.m. So you got some time if you want to join the supporters group. Right on our website, Josh showed you where to find it. We'll drop the link into the chat here in a second as well. Let's see who won our last free trip of the night. We're going to give away our 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour for one lucky winner. Let's see who that person is. Jennifer Cassidy, desperately needing a fishing trip. Well, you just got a 39-hour fishing trip, Jennifer. Congratulations. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family. Come find out why we're the #1 fishing charter in the country. Y'all have a good night. Tight lines. We'll see you soon.